is going to be about how people end up with the disease of addiction, right? How does that even happen, And for everybody that answer may be subjective, it may be individualized, but for the most part there's a range of behavior that may lead someone to the point of, you know, discovering that they are an addict. Now, the way that people come to that discovery is different. So many people have so many ways of discovering that they are an addict, especially where they are in their addiction, et cetera, et cetera. Today, we're going to talk about pretty much just how we may have ended up in this position of being in rehab. Again, how we get here is totally individualized. The way that you get here may be different than the way somebody else got here. Your path of getting to this rehab may be different than somebody else's path. So, but the most part, how we get here is the same. And in order for everybody to get here, they had to practice admitting that they are two things: powerless over their addiction, and that their lives had become unmanageable to a degree. Your life doesn't need to, be totally unmanageable, but in order to fix areas of your life that may be problematic as a result of our addiction, we would probably define those as unmanageable. Now, you're not really responsible. This is about what I hear people say. You're not responsible for your addiction and what you did at that time, but you are responsible for your recovery and cleaning it up. So I also have a video. Anybody ever heard of Dr. Father Martin? Raise your hand if you heard of that guy. Well, I have a video of that guy. Yep, I think, Robin, you may have seen the video I'm going to show.
I've seen all of Father Martin.
Awesome. He's outstanding.
He's excellent.
Yeah. So I have a little snippet of a video that I'm going to show you today. And by the end, so the first half is going to be mostly lecture with some questioning on how we end up at being a person who struggles with addiction and ending up to have to go to a rehab. Now, again, this answer to everybody is totally different, totally subjective, but we're going to talk about the typical journey that would take us there, of one having a spiritual awakening that they need help and admitting that they are an addict. And in the second half of group, we're going to talk about obsession. Okay. To give you a little insight, most people think of recovery when you say, hey, what's like a time of recovery that you think you could get that would probably make you restored to sanity? Relationships are good. How long would it take for all of that to kind of balance out? And most people say a year. So today we're going to talk about what obsession looks like during the first year, because if you were going to take like addiction and what it would look like in the first year, there's the physical dependence and the mental dependence. The physical dependence of the addiction only lasts typically 2 weeks, which is accounting for 4% of 1 year sober, which would make the entire journey of recovery, most of the entire journey of recovery from addiction, is a mental battle. It is me battling the idea that getting high is a good idea, which would require us sacrificing the idea that getting high is a good idea, which, I think I might have said this last week, but if you want long-term recovery, your last time using is going to have to be your last time you ever used, right? Some people may be in here right now saying something like, dude, that ain't the last time. Yeah, that's not the last time. I'm going to drink again. I'm going to use again, yada, yada, yada. There's no way that that's the last time I'm going to use. Long-term recovery requires you to forfeit that idea, to surrender that idea, to look at that time in your life as the last time. And that thought has to consistently be in the forefront of your mind. That is called a clean date, right? Now, some people may not really care about their clean date or whatever the case may be, but there's value in that. There, you could perhaps look back at that moment and find tremendous value in it. Now, let's get into some of this. Let me take a sip of now. Last week we talked about spiritual awakenings, right? How people come to these spiritual awakenings. Some of what I said last week, this may be like a little bit of a reiteration of what I said last week, but it's all relative to how we end up getting to the first step. Like, how do we develop addiction? I often say that, there was a time in my life when I may have said, I really don't even recall if I said this last week, but you may have heard me say this last week. But I recall when I was like 13 years old and I was using pot for the first time, and I bought a bag of weed on like a Tuesday and I saved it for like Saturday. And I called my friend and I said, "Hey, bro, I got this bag of weed. We're going to smoke it on Saturday." At that time, I said, my parents will be out of town. We can fucking eat pizza, watch a movie. It'll be sick, yada, yada, yada. Here I am managing my powerlessness as a 13-year-old kid. I'm saying to myself, this is going to fuck me up. You know what I mean? And most kids, most, not all, most people used when they were kids. You know what I'm saying? Like 13, 14, whatever the case may be. Maybe not for you, but this is for most. And even if it wasn't for you, right? Maybe you used when you were 30 for the first time. Maybe you didn't use until you were 30 years old. When a 30-year-old is using, generally they are also using it in a manageable way. Not always, but as a 13-year-old kid, here I am smoking pot in a time that I am allowing myself to be powerless. I am admitting this drug is going to impact me in a way that I'm not going to be able to control. And if I don't allow myself to be in a setting where I can't control it, my life is going to become unmanageable. My parents will find out, so on and so forth. So, and that actually works. Okay. Now, for most people, now alcohol, I remember alcohol may have been different. I got too drunk. Most of us get too drunk the first time, throw up. It becomes a huge mess. People find out, But what happens is we end up coming to believe that it's not that big of a deal. The things that people said, it's not that bad. It is manageable. We come to believe that it's okay. And what do we do from this point? Ready? We start using too much, too often. And we continue to use too much, too often in different circumstances, moods, and in different relationships. So maybe it starts off with, we'll say, Friday night. You guys do this on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, something like that. Too much, too often. And then that goes from a Friday to a Saturday. It ends up turning into a Sunday, ends up turning into, before school, after school. It ends up, the holidays, Tuesdays, birthdays, it doesn't really matter what the circumstances. Sometimes the circumstances don't even call for it. Sometimes we're using in response to different moods, right? In response to different emotions. We use too much, too often, not only in these Friday night, Saturday night, but also we use too much, too often when we're lonely, when we're tired, when we're hungry, when we're sad, depressed, anxious, stressed, celebrating, whatever the case may be, right? So here we are using a lot in oftentimes, a lot of people say, is this a choice? Is addiction a choice, right? Perhaps at this time we are making the decision to use too much too often, right? Perhaps we're even looking forward to using too much too often. Perhaps we're looking more towards using than we are actually the event itself. So people look more forward to the using aspect instead of the actual relationship themselves. So they say, "Oh man, I can't wait to go drink at this open bar," instead of saying, "Wow, man, I can't wait to see everybody at this wedding." You see what I'm saying? It goes from a take it or leave it attitude where like, no, I can't, to anticipation and expectation, right? We start anticipating our drug to be at these places. We start expecting our drug to be at these places. It's in this singles out relationships. So some people don't appreciate this. We stop going places where alcohol may not be served. We start going places where they're not using our drug. We stop going around these people, these places, these things. We stop doing these things because it's not there. And perhaps we need it to be there, right? Perhaps we need it to have a good time. So now the good time of whatever we're doing becomes replaced with the drug. The drug becomes the good time. The wedding is no longer the good time. The open bar is the good time, right? We start using again more and more and more, and eventually, typically around this time is where problems start to occur in relationships. Generally, we become defendant of the drug. People start defending the substance, right? It's like, wow, man, you should probably stop drinking. Hell no, it ain't the alcohol. It's because I was driving down Main Street that I got that DUI. No, you got a DUI because you were drinking, dude. What the hell? That is a direct drinking problem, dude. You know, it's like it's like yeah. It is insanity for somebody to think those thoughts, and to me, that is addiction. We're defending the drug. We should be removing the drug. We should be like saying to ourselves, wow, maybe this happened as a result of drinking. But maybe perhaps then, is it a choice? I don't know. Maybe the decision made for us. I don't know. But at this time, we are using too much too often in different circumstances, in different moods, and in response to different relationships. That's the third part of this, right? Let me move this over. Relationships. And our relationships begin to change with A, B, C, with people, objects, and concepts or ideas. So, and we start to think that like we believe that it is normal or natural, right? Our feelings, like from using too much too often, we start thinking that used like this decision, we start thinking all of this is normal. Let me see if I can. To us, this is normal behavior, right? It's an open bar. I can drink however much I want. I'm a fucking adult, dude. I can drink. Like it's no big deal, bro. I'm just going a mile down the road. It's no big deal if I'm drinking or driving, right? So as a result of as a result of normalizing drinking too much, we also begin normalizing some behaviors directly associated with using too much too often, like drinking and driving, like drinking excessively. Like we normalize that behavior. As a result of normalizing that behavior over an extended period of time, like you're looking at this decision making right here happening years, over and over and over for years. And if we're not using it because of the circumstance or the mood, now we think it's normal to drink excessively around these people. And that line about who we can or cannot drink excessively around becomes jaded, right? So maybe maybe we're unable to not drink around certain people. Like that's where these problems start occurring, is these people are okay with our drinking. Maybe our friends are okay with our drinking, you know what I mean? But our family's not. So it's about, instead of hanging out with our family because they don't, co-sign our drinking, we hang out with our friends more. So if I'm not drinking because of the circumstance or the mood, maybe I'm drinking because my friend came over, or you hit me up, or you called me. And now I think that that's normal for me to go drink often, right? And not even, like, maybe you don't even think it's normal. Like I never really thought it was normal. I thought it was just funny. You know what I mean? I thought it was just like, yeah, you wake up with a hangover and you go to work. That's like life. And if I'm not drinking because of the person, if I'm not deciding to drink too much because people are influencing me, circumstances are influencing me, moods are influencing me. Maybe it's an object, maybe it's something I see on the TV, maybe it's because I have it in my fridge, maybe I just have it around, maybe these objects, just them being around, are influencing me to make the decision to drink more often than I should, and not just more often, but too much. And as a result of doing that over and over and over, our morals become I like to say uncalibrated. So our morals become uncalibrated. They get hijacked. They become, distorted as a result of us defending drinking too much during defending it. Right? So you got to remember, you got someone defending drinking, thinking that it is normal to do this, right? Thinking that it's okay to heavily drink, or just to drink, or sneak drink, or whatever the case, during all this time, all these people, all these relationships, even their idea, maybe the idea of drinking is brought up. There's nothing, not the person, not the place, not the time, but just the idea of it brought up prompts them to do it. Maybe the memory of drinking causes them to drink. Maybe, it's like people say, my anxiety gives me anxiety. You know what I mean? Maybe the thought of drinking causes people to drink. Now, what happens as a result of this is mental and moral quality changes. Yes. Yeah, sorry. Is this a question or a comment?
Kind of both. I've got a client that needs to process something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can we do that? Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm sorry, dude. I just kind of go off. You can always raise your hand and share.
It's okay.
My bad. What's going on?
It's Robin.
Robin.
Me.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with my husband. He's filing for divorce. He's going to send the paperwork here. I don't want to take up this whole group.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's not a surprise or a shock or anything like that, but it's real. And my heart's broken, but it needs to happen. And I'm just shaky. But it's just, it should have happened so long ago. Just been putting it off and hoping. But it's not going to work. It's too broken. And I just need to feel this. I have to feel it. It's just a divorce. So many people go through things that are way harder than this. And I don't know. I'm just struggling, that's all.
It's half of your life.
32 years. Yeah.
Well, it's like he's like dangling the carrot and then bam. It's just
Yeah. I just can't do it anymore. He's been wonderful. Like for the last 10 days. I mean, Christmas, he came in, he literally swept me off my feet was excessive with gifts and cash. And then this morning, he just turned on the dime and said he's filing today. And he's sending the paperwork here to the center. And it just threw me. It just really threw me.
he's trying to get a reaction.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I feel like that's exactly
if
it.
he's
He
trying
got
to
it.
get a reaction,
He's
he's
not
getting it
working.
because I'm going, I'm doing it. I can't do this anymore, because if I was home right now, this is what he does. I'd already been drinking wine, bottles of it, and I can't do this. I can't drink. He's not worth it. He's just not worth it. Sorry, I hate this.
It's gonna be okay, Robin.
I hate it.
Has
Like you said, that it happened here. I had
Yeah.
It had, yeah.
had the same
Oh, yeah.
thing I could talk to you about. Right now.
What has anybody in here ever been through a divorce?
Currently, I also kind of forced it out of my wife to give the truth. But I wanted it to happen while I was in recovery and not when I was at home. So it took a lot to sort of pull the truth out of her. But he's currently also going through it.
I am so sorry you're going through that, Robin.
All right.
I'm very grateful that you are going through it there, though.
I am too.
You know, with you have all those people with you. You know what I mean? You have literal licensed therapists there to support you through this. You know what I mean? I'm sure outside of there, you have people supporting you as well. You know, I don't know why it's happening this way. You know what I mean? I really don't know, but I do know that it's happening for a reason. You know, it's one of those things where I don't know. I just firmly believe that things happen for a reason, and I don't know what that reason is. I can't see it, but it's up to me and you, to us, to just like do the right thing, and then the reason will like present itself. You know, I don't know why it's happening this way, but you know, I'm grateful that you guys fucking cut me off. You know what I mean? And you shared this because this is a huge thing that's happening in your life right now with a ton of emotions that are normal. Like everything you're going through is normal. None of it is like abnormal. All the feelings, all the emotions and everything. And it sucks because we're feeling them, you know? And whew, yeah, it fucking hurts, dude. And like one thing that would hurt a lot more is if we, like you said, if we were drinking over this, you know, if we were using over this. So what if you could, like, how do you feel? How do you know it's going to be okay? Like what is that in you that's like, I'm happy it's happening now, and like how, like what is that optimistic part of you?
You know, it's been over for about 5 years, but I held on to. We're not divorced though, so there was always that slimmer of, a little slimmer of hope. But the marriage has been over for 5 years. I've already gone through so much hurt and so much pain, and I know that I'm a strong woman. I mean, I am, and a part of me gets a little excited about it, about a new beginning, And I always say, I'm going to be alone. I'm not. I have my children. I have my mom, my dad, my sister, my grandson. I'm not going to be alone. And those people are more important to me, my children and my grandson. And I don't want to live on this roller coaster. I want off this ride. I've been on it for too long. I want off of it. I hate this ride. And I'm excited about the prospects of not having to ride it anymore. Maybe I'll get in the teacups and get off the roller coaster. But a new beginning, figuring out me at this season of my life. I mean, my life's not over. I think I can get a lot more accomplished because I put so much energy and effort just into the marriage, and I neglect everything else. And it's time to stop doing that. It's time, and I deserve more. And I'm just tired of this building me up and then pulling the rug out from underneath me. I don't know what his objective is. I want off the ride. I got to get off. I'm too old for it anymore. I can't do it. Part of me is excited. I mean, it hurts, but a part of me, I'm looking forward to what's out there, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good way to look at it, And I think that like, dude, Robin, I'm gonna. I mean, you remember? Do you mind if I share with you like an anecdote?
No.
When my sister passed away, that was just it felt the same way. You know what I mean? You're having a relationship with someone who struggles with addiction. And, for those of you who don't know, a couple months ago, my sister passed away of an overdose suddenly. We were all, off and on. I've been in recovery for, 8 years. She's been kind of like off. She was off and on for a while. And, when she passed away, it just hurt so much. But in my head, I kept on thinking about, dude, I kept on thinking about how I don't have to fucking lock my doors anymore. How I don't have to fucking be stressed out and get that phone call and, go to another trap house and kick the fucking door in and fucking drag her out and call the police. And I don't have to fucking just be stressed out and worried and get a call from my parents and have the rug swept out from underneath me, dude. Like, of course, I love my sister. I fucking want my sister. You know what I mean? But her journey in life is different than mine. And I don't know why God decided to take her from me. You know what I mean? And it sucks. And of course, I feel pain, but that sadness that I feel, I mean, it's just, I can't choose that. It's just something that I can't fucking choose. You know what I mean? If I could, I would get my sister back every fucking day. I would never want her addiction back though. That can go. You know what I mean? I love my sister. I want her back all day, all long, but I don't want that addiction. And unfortunately, she had a disease that was just stronger than any rehab I could get her into. Talk about fucking all the times I got her into rehab, all the fucking things that I did. You know what I mean? It's just addiction is a strong motherfucker, and I just, bro, there's just, it hurts me to think like that. It hurts me to say, you know what? Like, I feel way less stress. You know what I mean? It hurts to say, like, I'm happy that my mom's fucking colitis isn't flaring up because my sister's addiction stole $3,000 out of the fucking house. You know what I mean? Like, my parents, when I would come into their house to do group, because I'm in my parents' house. I don't know if you noticed the background looks different, but I'm in my parents' house today. And when I would come here to do group before with you guys, like months ago, they would have a camera out. There'd be a camera set up because she could break in, and I came in today and there's no camera. And it probably fucking kills my parents to say, wow, I don't have to set up a camera. I don't have to do that shit. You know what I mean? And just and it's sad, but like you were saying, like, well, what do I do with this? I've been so used to having this stressor. I've been so used to having this thing to preoccupy me and think about. I don't have to think about that. Like, now what am I going to do? You know what I mean? My dad doesn't have to waste time setting up a camera and doing all this shit. It's like, well, what am I going to do now? I don't have this stress crashing down on me. It's like, fuck, like, what can I do? And it's like, to me, like, this may be your thing for you. Like, to me, it's share my story. You know what I mean? It's talk about Robin. It's share the story of her. Like, my sister's name was Robin. And so, you have a little special place for me, and
It's okay.
I don't know where God is going to use her story to change someone's life. Yeah. It's up to me to be at that place to use it. I don't know where, dude, who knows? Maybe you're going to be in a meeting a little bit from now and someone's going to say, I'm going through a divorce. We've been married for 35 years. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. And you're the person who God chose to go up to them and talk to them, you know. I don't know where it's going to work, but somehow it's going to work. And it's not my job to think about that. It's my job to just go through life and make the right decisions, because that's, dude, that's just how I view it. I can't sit here and be like, oh my God, you know, like it's never going to be the same. Of course it's never going to be the fucking same, dude. You know what I mean? Of course it's not. It hasn't been the fucking same for the past 5 years. So it's like, you know, it's never gonna be like all that shit. Yeah. But you know what? Like, I'm not gonna dwell on the past. I'm not gonna get angry. I do get angry. I do dwell. You know what I mean? That does happen. That's a part of fucking grieving. You know, and it doesn't matter whether you're grieving the death of a loved one, a divorce. Maybe you're just grieving the fact that you have to say goodbye to drugs and alcohol. Not only is Robin saying goodbye to drugs and alcohol, she's also saying goodbye to somebody she's been with for fucking 32 years. That's a fucking lot, dude. You know? So in that, I'm telling you right now, that optimism that you have is, some people may not understand it, but fuck them, dude. You know, when I sit there and I talk, you know, optimistically about the passing of my sister, people don't understand it, but they don't understand it from a place of like, wow, how are you so brave? How are you so courageous? How are you so strong? They're not like, how are you such a shitty person to say that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, man, I don't know why it's, Robin, I don't know why it's happening this way, but that's not our job. It's your job to just keep on moving forward with what you think is the right thing. So
I appreciate it, Jimmy. I love you. Thank you
yeah, I love you too, girl. So I appreciate you.
for letting me.
Did anybody else have any comments or, you know, any experience they can share, you know, anything like that? Yep.
Yeah, I only found out I was getting a divorce maybe 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Yeah. It was right when I got here. So 2 weeks ago. Kind of same thing where I knew something was coming. A lot of sadness, grief, loss. But I too felt that optimism, and I've only felt that optimism grow. You know, Jack's mentioned like, oh, you know, I'm talking about the Peace Corps, and it's like, yeah, I've been thinking about the Peace Corps. So I'm like thinking of these opportunities for personal growth, and also ways that I can keep myself sober. And I know for myself it's going to be a lot easier staying sober outside of that relationship. So it was the hard, you know, the hardest thing, second hardest thing about recovery, aside from getting clean and sober and getting all that, I have to deal with that as well. But taking time to like fan the flames of the optimism, just sort of think about those opportunities that like you know, I'm a very individualistic, like I want to go out and explore, you know, or, you know, garden. There's all these things that feel like the world is opened up a bit, and that veil of like a bad relationship is lifted. Although it was a tough band-aid to pull off for sure.
Mm. Did you find? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, you're okay. Go ahead.
Did you find out that you were going to get divorced while you were in rehab?
Yeah.
What was the, like, what did it feel like the day that, like, when you found out it was being finalized and everything? What did that feel like, if you could describe it?
I could read the writing on the wall, but and like even from those around me, I had kind of, you know, I'm a sneaky little bastard. I forget what I said to a close friend, mutual friend of ours. But she mentioned something like, oh, you'll have a blank slate to go on after recovery. I was like, oh, well, I kind of tricked her into it. I forget how I did, like what I said. So like, but my wife just wasn't willing to share. And I literally texted her like a middle school child and said, "Are we going to continue our relationship? Yes, no, or maybe?" and she texted me back, "I think I might be better off single."
Mm. And then how did that feel?
I was angry that it was a text, but she just struggles with direct communication or like getting to the point. She'll beat around the bushes forever. So that's gonna be the hardest thing, like resolve.
Mm. And now, how did you like how have you changed from then to now? Like, so now it's been 2 weeks. What's it been like for you going through that day one compared to day 14?
Big picture, I'm going to IOP, whereas before I was thinking I was gonna go home and try to work on a relationship sort of thing, which I had figured that out before. And but yeah, so I'll be able to continue my support, my IOP treatment. I don't know. So that's going to allow for just a lot more healing, processing, but also give me time to make that career change that I've always kind of needed to get out of such a high stress job. I think once I do get out of IOP, I'm going to do something adventurous, like for work. So like I'm going to do something for myself, and whether it's the Peace Corps or working at a state park for a summer or national park, I'm just going to do something for myself. Give myself a little extra time to find that full-time position, a little more like job experience. So
Nice.
it's all, I'm just trying to make it all personal growth.
So like in that,
Jimmy, I've got something I'd like to read.
yeah, please.
This definitely hit me with my situation I've got going on with my sister, because we're kind of cut off from each other. It says, "I can cut you off and still love you. I can stop speaking to you and still care for you. I can let you go and still wish you the best. If I leave you alone, it's not to be bitter or petty. If I leave you alone, it's for my own good. If I let you go, it's so that I can accept still being able to love you, but also can be happy without you. I can accept loving you, but not wanting to need you for me to be happy."
It's really good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you so much. What's your situation that you got going on?
Well, my sister has been my biggest enabler throughout my addiction in the last 20 years. And she's very, very involved in Al-Anon. She's literally the queen of Al-Anon in Lexington. I'm just joking, but she really is. Love her dearly. We're very, very close and have been very, very close for years. But she has detached from me. She doesn't really want anything to do with me right now. We just need a break, and she kind of left it in hoping that she'd be able to be in contact with me at somewhere near the future. And I don't know if or when that's going to happen. So that's what's going on with that.
Mm. So what is so how does that reading make you think about your relationship with your sister?
Well, I mean, we've been apart. I lived in Atlanta for a long time, and we were apart when I was there. And I went through some difficult, very depressive times during that point. And we were, we talked on the phone, every week or two or something like that. But we really weren't that close. And I moved back to Lexington 6 years ago with the intent of being closer with her. She's 14 years older than I am. She's 76. She's in very good health, very active. I want to be part of her life again. So, and I've had my own set of drama since I've been back in Lexington. I've relapsed several times, been treatment a couple times. So the madness has continued here. And I understand why she's attached from that. It's hard for me to understand it to a certain degree, but I do understand why she has. So it's all about me right now. You know, it's about me taking care of me and me being happy and doing what I need to do, go forward with my life. You know, and not depend on her emotionally and certainly not financially, but she definitely has cut that off.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a good move to just like focus on yourself and get that under control. This is another anecdote. I remember when I would get my sister into rehab, she would call me and every single day. You know what I mean? She'd call me. She loved me so much. She'd call me every single day and she would want to know how things are. And I'm just like, yo, like, you have to just focus on yourself, dude. Like, you gotta just do what you're there to do. You know what I mean? Just stay focused. You know, call us once a week. You don't have to call us every day. You know what I mean? You can call us once every couple days just to check in, you know, but I don't want you to be kind of like I didn't want her to be in group thinking about the call later to us. I wanted her to be in group working through the things that she needed to be working through. I wanted her like learning the material that was being presented, you know what I mean? Instead of sidetracked by, you know, thoughts of what the rest of the night was going to bring. So, yeah, I think that idea of staying focused on yourself and like doing that is definitely a solid one. Anybody else want to share comments, anything like that? This is a great time to do it.
Well, I'm going through, or have been going through about the same thing. So, I'm married just 32 years, and it's been over for 13 years. And we've just kind of stayed and, you know, in something. It wasn't really married, but lived in the same house, I guess, some of the years, you know, not all of them. And, like this past weekend, I'm from Alabama. So the only thing that tied me to Alabama was my daughter and my granddaughter was still there. And I actually went and got them this Christmas Eve night. And they allowed me to use it as my visit, rehab them, and to actually go get them and them in rehab. So now my whole entire family, except for one, is in rehab. We got the dog, we got the baby, and so there's actually a counselor here that is housing the dog so I can get out of rehab. So we left everything behind, everything we own, but just a few clothes behind. And it's scary, but I'm just real thankful that I can trust the process that I didn't know existed. And, you know, and have faith in this journey that I've been on for, you know, I've been in treatment for almost 80 days. And if I wasn't at this point, I don't know that I could have dealt with all that. But seeing your child so broken and so helpless, hopeless, hurt, it's one of the hardest things as a mother. But I was just glad that I was in a good spot, you know, to be able to help her and to be able to like break those ties between me and her dad. And because I've been married since I was 17. And so we've been together since I was 15. And it's just a very toxic relationship that I needed out of. That was definitely keeping me sick. And, you know, and so I went through what Robin's going through several years ago. You have to mourn. It's the marriage, like when your marriage dissolves, it's a grief process, and you really have to mourn that. It's like losing a person still alive, and it's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm just real thankful, and you know, and just trying to focus on me and let her have her own journey. I mean, like our family has been so dysfunctional, for so many years.
Do you still grieve the ending of that relationship every now and then?
Absolutely.
Is the level of like, is it, you're not like grieving as heavily as when it happened, but you still like, what's like a grieving episode today like compared to initially?
I wish it did. Well, I mean, I just have times that I wish it could go back. Like if I have to talk to him, like I haven't really talked to him but a couple times since I've been in treatment. But if I have to, like we had to talk, or we did talk the other night before all this happened with my daughter, because I was real concerned, and I called him because she was there, he was seeing her every day. So I called him to kind of talk to him about some things. We wound up, we talked for an hour and a half. And that makes me miss the way things used to be. Because it was that way for so long. But I know it's better for both of us. It's just, it's hard. You get used to things, and, the way things, and what you have in your mind, the way things are supposed to be versus the way they are, that, it's real hard. It's real hard to get over. And when you're keeping some kind of tie to that person, that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
At least when those ties are broken, you can move on and heal. But you can never really heal having a tie with a person. Which I mean, we'll always have some sort of tie because he's the father of my kids, and but it won't be as sick and dysfunctional.
That's good. Good, Michelle.
Yes, that is good. Good job, Michelle. I don't know who said that, but I agree.
I mean, like, my process has been 13 years of making, so it took me, because it's just so hard to leave something that you're so used to.
And you're talking about the same way that you're describing the grief of that relationship nowadays. To me, especially since like you're describing, like I have to have that relationship because we have kids together. You know what I mean? To me, I immediately started thinking about alcohol. And it's like, that isn't maybe it's not necessarily a relationship that I want to leave. And I may be grieving the ending of this relationship. And, what is grief going to look like for this relationship 13 years from now? It may be that very thought. It may be you in an environment where alcohol is being used and thinking to yourself, man, remember those days? You know what I'm saying? Remember that? Like hearing his voice and the communication that you guys are having makes you say, fuck, dude, like maybe I can. Like maybe there is like I know what you're talking about. You talk to that person, you start saying to yourself, maybe there is a chance, dude. Maybe there is like I can work it out or whatever the case may be. And I think that same thought maybe with addiction and like alcohol, like you're in an environment, you say something like, yo, maybe I can just have one. Maybe I can just fucking do one. It'll be like it was before. And then before you know it, we're like in the mix of that crazy relationship again, and yeah, that to me is exactly, I mean, it goes back to, I really think that we're already grieving the loss of drugs and alcohol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what we know. It's what I know. I mean, I can just speak for me, but it's just what I know. It's how I've lived my life for so long. And the relationship with my husband just propelled that. It just propelled because I just couldn't break the ties. Because, it would be, I mean, with him, every time I would leave, he would like come find me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just so toxic. So it just went on and on and on. everybody's like, enough already, you know,
Mhm.
everybody exhausted from 13 years of this.
Wow. Wow. So, anybody else?
I think what you said about that, like impulsive, or I kind of take it as like an impulsive idea that you can save the relationship is like still running in my head. Like, there's so much I want to go back to, but at the same time, it is just like drugs. It's like I have to separate it and think about it the same way in order to not get sucked back into trying to make that work, which more than likely would be an inevitable path to relapse for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote that down and took a little moment to jot that down because I'm kind of, like I said, still kind of processing.
And I think that's the insidiousness of that thought. That's the insidiousness of the disease or whatever you want to call it, is that like, yeah, it's like the thought comes on like it can work, like a hopeful, like here we are with that describing this loss of hope. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. I have to start thinking that way. And like, and what that is you're forced in your everyday life. Like for me, like for all of us, whatever it is, you're going through your everyday life and you're going to think of that person, thing, or whatever. And you have to readjust your thinking. Like, oh yeah, no, we're divorced. Oh no, she's dead. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I can't drink. You know what I mean? Like you have to that is in that stunting of those thoughts is rewiring of your brain. That is the actual rewiring that is occurring. You're experiencing a new state of mind, which is that person no longer exists in my life. That object no longer exists in my life. And that is the thought that has to happen for the rewiring to actually occur. And if you are fighting that, right? If you are fighting that rewiring, then it may cause more problems. So somebody fighting the reality of the divorce by trying to save it, or fighting the reality of the passing of a loved one by, doing, I don't know. I really don't know how somebody would do that, or, in unhealthy ways, coping with it in unhealthy ways, we'll say. What are those unhealthy ways? I don't know. That's up to an individual to decide. And perhaps with drugs and alcohol, grieving over the loss of drugs and alcohol because somebody wants to be close to it. They may, be in an environment where drugs and alcohol would be present. If somebody wants to be close, and again, grieving, there's science behind it. It's about closeness to the thing. It's about predicting the location of the person or place or thing. Like, I know where my family is. I know how long it would take for me to get there. I know that I can acquire them and touch them. The grieving process is not knowing when that is going to occur again, and the reality that may never occur again. And now it's about, for grieving of a loved one, from what I'm hearing, it's like discovering contact with those people in new things. So, like I said, I don't know where I'm going to see my sister. I need to be open to it. I don't know where the opportunity for us to go through the grieving of a divorce is going to happen, but maybe it's going to happen when somebody else brings it up. Maybe it's going to happen from them contacting me. Maybe it's going to happen from some song that I hear. You know what I mean? And when are the situations and experiences that are going to make me grieve the loss of drugs and alcohol? Maybe it's going to happen when I see the alcohol, when somebody hits me up. You know what I mean? Like, I just see these being very similar in each other. So, okay. Any other comments? That was amazing. I'm very happy we took time to do this. Thank you for everyone who shared. It is 10 a.m. We're going to take a break right now. We'll come back at like 10:20, take a little break. And from there, we're going to continue on with the discussion that we were having on step 1. We're going to lead into obsession. And that is the plan moving forward. So, all right. Thank you, guys.